Hello, my name is Reverend David Clifford. I'm the senior minister of First Christian Church here in Henderson, Kentucky. In the lectionary text for the last 2 Sundays, we have seen Jesus as a master teacher as he describes the kingdom of God using parables about farming. Jesus teaches quite often in parables, but in the parables the lectionary has focused on in the last 2 weeks, Jesus also explains the parables to his disciples. In this way, we get to witness Jesus as both a masterful storyteller and teacher. For this episode of the Monday Morning Preacher, we are outside of Jefferson Elementary School. Go Jaguars! As we focus on Jesus as a teacher and pray for our teachers during this most unorthodox time we find ourselves in. I'm here outside of Jefferson Elementary for this episode of the Monday Morning Preacher for 2 reasons. One is to highlight Jesus as a teacher. The other is to pray for our teachers and all those involved in the process of attempting to figure out how to reopen schools in the middle of the pandemic we find ourselves facing. The Gospels show Jesus as a masterful teacher and storyteller in the way he uses parables to teach and describe the kingdom of God. Biblical scholar John Dominic Crossan describes a parable as a metaphorical story. By this, Crossan means that the parable is a metaphor extended and expanded into a story. The story itself becomes the metaphor as a way to teach a complicated and often spiritual truth. For Crossan, the parable is both focused internally on itself, its characters and its plot, but also externally, beyond itself, pointing to some different and much wider referent. The entire point of Jesus' parables is not the actual content of the stories, but the kingdom that the stories point toward. Jesus reveals this truth to us in the few parables that he expands on and describes for his disciples. I would argue one foundational key to the faith is the continued learning and growing from the teachers of the faith. Those teachers that can take the ordinary, everyday parts of our lives and connect them to the learnings of God's kingdom in such a metaphorical story as Jesus did with his own teaching and his own parables. It is important for us to always be growing in our faith and in our relationship with Christ. It might be one of the reasons Jesus uses so many stories about farming in his teachings. It is also important for our society to have highly educated members who can contribute to the future of our lives and our communities. This is the reason teachers are so very important. I have many teachers in my own personal family, and I cannot begin to express how much I think of their willingness to live into that calling for their lives. Learning is a most important aspect of both religious and secular society. First Christian Church has a special relationship with Jefferson Elementary. We have members who have attended this very school behind me. We also have members who attended the school on the hill of Jefferson Street, where the school got its name. From what I understand, once a Jaguar, always a Jaguar. At First Christian Church, we value the work of these wonderful educators and are willing to help them in any way they may need us to help. One way we can all be supporting our educators right now is by lifting them up in prayer as they attempt to figure out what school and education needs to look like in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. No decision they make will be perfect, and they have a truly difficult task set before them. But I know this: they love Henderson and they love our children. I invite you to comment and tag the name of an educator you know in the comments below, and join First Christian Church in praying for all the educators of our wonderful community. As always, if you liked this video, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to get all the latest Monday Morning Preacher episodes as we release them for you. God bless.